feels good.
I believe we can fly up in the sky. One day we may just...
Howdy folks, Rudros here, back from the 2024 Winter Cup event for Final Fantasy trading card game. And it feels good because, to quote John Cena, the champ is here. I won the event with my teammates. We're going to go over everything, match recap, a little bit on the deck, the event in general. Just, wow, what a great time. What a great weekend. Way more than I ever expected. So let's delve right into it. I want to get the fluff out of the way first. I have some thank yous to give out. First of all, thank you to Game Theory, the store, as well as the RVA guys for running the stream commentary, and they pretty much helped run the event as well. Judge, I believe, was Gabe, and Ryan, I think, were both doing judge work, so major thanks to them. I know that can be very thankless at times, so thank you to you both. Thank you to Square Enix for the prizes. I'm going to do a separate video for showing off the prizes because I did get a box of Opus 21, which I don't actually have any of those cards, so I'll do an unboxing and I'll show off the other prizes. Showed off the trophy there a little bit in the beginning. But since it was a 3v3 team event, I kind of thought that everyone was going to get, like, we just have to split the prizes. Like, I heard there was a trophy, but it's like, oh man, it's going to be like this trophy and we're going to have to break it into 3 pieces and each person gets one just so he can share it, or, you know, just Ghoul's going to get it because he's technically the team captain. No, we each got our own set of prizes. So we each got our own trophy, we each got our own Opus 14 set, as well as a few other things. And again, I'll show off everything I got in a separate prize video. But just thank you for doing that, making me feel like the team as a whole mattered and not just, well, whose name was on the list, you know, who was the team captain, they get everything. So thank you, Square Enix. That was great. Of course, have to thank my teammates, Alex and Daniel. I mean, I couldn't have done it without you guys, right? Like, we made it together, and it was so fun spending the weekend with you. And I have to give a shout out to my honorary teammate, Dalton, as well, who got a last-minute ticket. And even though we didn't play on the same team, he stayed at our Airbnb, and, you know, he's a really close friend of mine. And so it just made the weekend 50%, 100% better just having him around and rooting for us and watching us go through the finals and celebrating with him afterwards. So, Dalton, you're a team member in my heart, my man. And then finally, everyone who came up and said hello. I had so many people come up and say, oh man, I love your videos, or I watch all your videos. Someone even came in, hey Rudros, what's your favorite EX burst? And I was like, well, like the one I hate the most or the one I actually like? He's like, well, give me both. And so that was really nice. I apologize if I don't remember everyone's name. I did talk to a lot of folks, but if you did come up, thank you. I really appreciate it. It's always nice to hear feedback from real people in person that, you know, they enjoy what I do. So thank you so much. Thanks to everyone. There's all the fluff out of the way. Let's get into the event. So in case you didn't know, the Winter Cup was a 3v3 team event. So you and 2 other people would have team matches, and you would essentially pick a letter at the start of the day. So I was member A, Alex was a member B, or no, sorry, Daniel was member B, Alex was member C. So we would face off against another team of 3. I would always face the A's, Daniel would always face the B's, Alex the C's, and you could freely talk to each other throughout the event, which was really nice, especially when your match is finished. We didn't tend to talk a whole lot during the matches because we were just all trying to concentrate, but it was, you know, I would lean over occasionally and say like, hey, you know, would you keep this opening hand? What do you think of this? That was great. It truly made it feel like a team event, which was fantastic. So here you can see our list right here at the top. Daniel on his, oh my god, yes, I love Rydia. My I Believe, Joker's Checkmates, Persona 5 Royal reference. If you haven't played that game, highly recommend it. Great game. And Alex's, what is Refia's favorite animal? A walrus. We kind of assumed someone would be on a wall list, and a lot of folks were. And you could not share cards between lists. So Alex did have Amaterasu in his list. Originally, some of the other decks I'd considered were Category 13, and I was like, well, I'm not playing that without Amaterasu. I'd even considered Ice Earth at one point, but Daniel, or Ghoul as I refer to him sometimes, he was running the Khusis and the Mistdrag, and I was like, well, I'm not playing Ice Earth without that. So ultimately, I decided on Category 6, which is a deck I'm incredibly familiar with, very comfortable with. I did have some other considerations. I did consider Mono Ice, the aggro, because if you get the right opening, it's unbeatable. They can't do anything about it. But if they have the right counters or they hit the right burst, or there's just a bunch of stuff that can just make it go whoop and you just lose for no reason. So I don't know. I wasn't really comfortable trying for that level of inconsistency, and I, rightly or wrongly, I tend to view myself as an unlucky player as is. So it's like, I don't know if I want something that up at that in the air. Dalton had suggested mono water the last week, which didn't really borrow too many cards, so I did consider that, but at that point, there was less than a week to go, and I had been practicing 6 the whole time. It was just like, I just don't know if I should switch. And I also considered tricolor 6 with water in it. That way you get access to Strago and Gao and the Fiend and the Unicorn Summon, which is really good, and you can still maintain that consistency around 5 CP lock, but it lacked the consistency of the Fire Ice build. Sometimes I would just get bricked on the colors, and I didn't kind of like some of the numbers I had to reduce from some of the other characters to get there, so I ultimately went with my Fire Ice version. That is what I stuck with. Let's take a look at it. This is, I believe, Joker's Checkmate. I'm not going to go too into detail because 6 has been a popular category for a while, but essentially this lock says every category 6 card you cast, or you get to reveal the top card, and if it's a 6 character, you add it to your hand. Everything in here is a 6 character, so it says every card you play, you essentially get to draw one, which is great. And yeah, there isn't really anything I would change from this particular list, taking it to the event. Ghoul fought with me on the Sabin, but he's just in here just as a nostalgic nod to the old Amano stuff and the old Opus 4 days. If I'm ever playing this Sabin or this Sabin, something has gone terribly wrong. It's just special fodder for this guy. So pretty standard stuff. On rare occasions, you would see a few consistency issues where I had lock on the field and then all I draw was the other locks. But Umaro is a good discard outlet for that, as you can just dump him to revive him if you need to. For the most part, especially if things are going well, it just didn't really junk up my hand. So I was happy with the list. Currently, based on what's in 6, there's not much I would have changed. I maybe could have added a General Leo, and I did toy with the idea of that card, but I just don't like being forced to block. So yeah, I was happy with this. I almost cut another Go-Go for an additional Terra, but Go-Go ended up being pretty prevalent throughout the weekend, more so at least than I was expecting. And Terra was fine, even if you just get the discard offer. Like, she's totally fine, but yeah, she's nothing insane. So I was happy with this. I would definitely take this again. I guess the other few considerations are Cyan and Shadow. I wouldn't mind playing the forward versions of this card, particularly the forward Legend Cyan with that uses the crystals. He's such a good board wipe because sometimes the demon does it, and sometimes he just doesn't have ways to clear out the boards in the ways you would like to. So I do wish I could have used that Cyan, but then I would lose the backup. I didn't really feel comfortable just running 4 unique backups. Maybe I could have switched to backup Terra then, but then I don't have Amaterasu for it, so I don't know. I was fine with it. Some things about this deck, though, ultimately why I picked it is because I'm very comfortable with this. I've been playing 6 forever. I would not take this again in a singles tournament. Again, it worked really well in the team format because I can't borrow cards with the other folks, and 6 plays its own game. I didn't need to borrow cards from Alex and Daniel. I could just let them take whatever they wanted to. And 6 does have a few prominent weaknesses that I've got a couple of them here. So one, it really struggles with 9k bodies. All its big shots are from Sabin, which is 8,000, and Umaro deals damage to his power, which is 8,000. Even the demon. So you can hit jobs, but it's for 8,000. You can hit elements, it's for 7,000. So his only real way to hit a 9k is the single target one. If they have multiple 9ks on the board, there's just no single way to do it. You have to multiple Sabins, or Sabin with Go-Go with Edgar to copy to do 2 shots, or Go-Go Umaro to 2 shots. So deck really struggles with 9Ks, which is unfortunate. It really struggles with Yuzuki or Iridia, cards that just have this protection from abilities, and I'll get into that in the matches. That definitely came up. Yeah, because everything in this does is ability damage. Umaro does not go through that. Sabin does not go through that. So the only cards I have in here that can even deal with those, like legit, the only way for me to get a Iridia off the board is 7 CP Umaro, or this 3 CP locks 4-person party attack to break the board. Not ideal. So it's something else it struggles with. It also just has a lack of interaction on your opponent's turn. Your only interaction is going to be Sabin and his special abilities. Edgar doesn't help with that because he's only on your turn. And then Umaro and Go-Go. So these are, I think, the only... and then, I mean, the Terra Crystal, well, that's just a one-time shot in this deck. you don't have any continued uses of that. So lack of interaction on your opponent's turn, that's no good. And then the final thing, there's just some problem cards. It struggles with Amaterasu. There's a lot of auto abilities in here. There's a lot of stuff that just dies to Amaterasu. If they bring it in, Edgar being a huge one, as well as Celis and Locke. And then, Neo X Death or Porum in particular, the way Porum just interacts. So like if you bring out Edgar and Sabin, when you go to give Sabin the free ability, they can just on the stack Porum. Sabin has no text, so it's meaningless. Or the Locke. Locke doesn't make a stack when he enters, and so you will get one guaranteed reveal, but they just pour him on top, and that's it. And then you can't chain off on all the Locke stuff. So yeah, some real problem cards, but it also does have some very good matchups. If they were to ever give 6 a Bannon backup that says that does something so you can not only punch through protection but deal with 9Ks, like, we're going to be cooking. Because if it can get over those 2 big humps, I think it could deal with a lot of the other stuff. All right, let's go through the day and just what my rounds were like. So I took some notes here in my handy-dandy little FF9 MOG journal. At the end of the day, so the final standings, the A player, that was me. I went 4-4, so I had 4 wins, 4 losses. The B player, that was Daniel. He was 7 wins and 1 loss. He only lost 1 time. He was crazy good. And then the C player, which was Alex, was 6-2. And we were undefeated after Swiss. Won all 5 rounds as a team there. And the way it worked is that essentially your team had to win best 2 out of 3. So if I lost a round but the other 2 guys won, the team still won that round. If Alex lost a round but Daniel and I won, then the entire team won. Daniel loses and the rest of us win, then the entire team wins. So that's how it went. I definitely felt like I had the weakest deck. Again, Alex is on Wool. That's pretty much the best deck in the format. It certainly feels that way. And Daniel is on Earthwind Retainers, and I'll put a link in the description towards his channel. He did a whole deck protect breakdown on his, if you want to believe it. What I liked about his was he could kind of switch up his style, that he had the Retainers to beat up on early aggression, so Wool, Mono Ice Discard, Ice Lightning, any of those things. Whereas 6, I could kind of go between, like I could put on a pressure with an early Setzer, Celis, maybe other Lock, but in general, I was definitely mid-range. I felt like I had the least flexibility, and I ended up eating a lot of bad matchups for my team, so Ghoul gave me a big thank you afterwards. He's like, oh, good, we didn't have to face a lot of those problem decks because you ran into all of them, so hooray, I guess. So let's go through the rounds. So round 1 was against Kendall. I believe he is from the Dallas area. It was very nice to play with him. I believe I actually helped me commentate the Texas Materia Cup last year. So he was on category 13. I did end up winning this 7-2. Luckily, he didn't have an insanely explosive start. Like, I think he started with maybe a Lumina backup, and I know he had Fang and Hope, and I had to put out. He hit me twice, and they were both the 3-cost Lock EX Burst, which is nuts because the deck only has a couple EX Bursts in it, but like 6 or 7, maybe 8. I haven't hit 2 of them, so that helped fill my hand up. And then I had the Demon, and I just dropped the Demon. And the thing with the Demon is Fang is a job thief. So if Fang is out and all the others get out, they're all Ravager, Lassie. But if you name that and Fang's out, it won't kill any of them. So I had to get Fang off the field. So I just dropped the Demon, took Fang out, and pretty much just ended after that. The Demon then just started breaking every single thing he had. Lockman eventually came on, so this one was pretty decisive. This was also the only round the entire team went undefeated. All 3 of us won our matches, so undefeated after round 1. Round 2 was against Matthew Rice. He was on Firewater Twins. This round was on stream, so if you want to go check it out on Snugsy's vid, maybe I'll go back and go through it. I don't know. I don't really feel the need to, but this one, I felt okay. And looking, I rewatched it, I think maybe later that evening or maybe the next evening. And like, there was a few things I was like, yeah, maybe I should have done that differently. Part of it was he had, like, I didn't know he was running the big 5/3-cost Bahamut card. I probably wouldn't have put the Lockout as early as I did had I known that. Because in my head, I'm like, well, what could he do to kill this thing? And then that Leftia card had an effect that I didn't realize. I thought she only amplified summons and ability damages, but she amplifies any damage from the character. So there was a turn where I felt confident, like, yeah, I've got a bunch of 9Ks, like his are all set, I'll just block them. And it's like, wait, if I block these, they die. And so that was like, oh, well, crap, I wasn't expecting that. That is a tough matchup for 6, though. Again, it has Yuzuki, so the moment Yuzuki comes down, she's like, what do I do? I can't hurt anything on that board. It has Amaterasu to cancel a bunch of my entry effects, which I'm trying to figure out ways to bait out the Amaterasu from my opponent, and then pour him again as well. So it was a pretty favored matchup for him. He did go on to win that one. So, like I said, I could probably nitpick some things if I went back and watched the stream, but given how difficult that matchup is, I wasn't going to get that one. But the team got it. Alex and Daniel picked me up on that one, so currently was 1-1. Round 3 was against a gentleman named Eric. He might have also been from Dallas. I know he was on Tori Kelly's team, and I'm pretty sure Tori is from Dallas. So I'm not sure. It just makes me assume Eric was as well, but maybe not. So, yeah, he was playing Fire Lightning, but he was specifically playing Neo X Death. And as we start, I'm showing Ghoul my opening hand. I'm like, what do you think? Good opening hand? I had the Shadow backup, and I had Gestelian Empire Sid, so Ice Fire backups feels good. And he says, okay, just be careful. This guy's been known to play Neo X Death. I'm like, Neo X Death? Oh, great. Well, hopefully he's not on that today. So I go first. I put down Shadow. He goes second. Slams down Neo X Death. I'm like, man, come on. Like, I just want to play the game. So the only thing I can think to do, because I have to get that thing off the field, right? I can't just sit there. And I thought about, well, maybe I try to set up in spite of it, put down the Empire Sid, maybe try to just curve out some backups, but then only sacrifice one and try to find a way to deal with it. Really, my only out to that card is 7 CP Umaro, target it, set it on the bottom of the deck, and I can just sacrifice the Umaro so I keep my backups. So I play the Gestelian Empire Sid to search out the 7 CP Umaro, and I have to dump my whole hand for this. And I put Umaro on the field, say, fine, let's just get rid of this thing. I have no hand, but you know what? Your hand's low too. He's off the field, and I still have 2 backups, one of each color. And he just goes pitch 2, Amaterasu. Yeah. So not only does the Umaro effect not work, I still targeted Neo X Death, so I have to sacrifice Umaro. And then I have to sacrifice a backup because it's the end of the turn. Yeah, that was the whole game. He just completely ran over me. I think it was I was on 4 or 5 damage before I finally killed the Neo X Death. And I kid you not, the way I had to kill it was Baby Umaro. Cast 4 to put it out there, sack it, deal it 8,000, revive it again, sack it, deal it 8,000, which is what? 4 cards from my hand to do that. Yeah, and I have no resources. Nothing's built up on my board at that point, so... yeah, that was a complete waste of time, and I was just like, you've got to be kidding me, man. Come on. Can't believe I just flew out this far just to get dumpstered by a Neo X Death in my 3rd round. But again, the boys picked me up. Alex and Daniel won, so I was like, all right, well, at least the team won. Round 4 was against a gentleman named Brendan. He was on Ice Lightning. I felt pretty confident into this matchup. Again, Ice Lightning just cannot deal with big boards, so I set up pretty early. He didn't actually generate much early pressure either. He wasn't freezing my backups or anything like that. So I got Lockout, I think, off of 2 characters, so he cost 4. And then I think I did Cyan, Setzer, just a bunch of backups off of Lock. Lock ended up drawing good 5, 6, maybe even more cards. Got Sabin and Edgar out there, and they just destroyed anything he did. I honestly, in my head, I was like, this is going to be easy. I'll cruise to this. He has no way to deal with the big board. He did pull out Shinryu. I was like, oh, right. I forgot you could just jam that card anywhere. So he did wipe the board with Shinryu, but I kid you not. Again, I had such an advantage off of Lock. I already had another Edgar prepped in my hand, so he has to essentially spend most of his resources for Shinryu to break the board. They're still all in the break zone. So the next turn, Edgar, get back Sabin, and Go-Go, and I had Edgar, Sabin, Go-Go, and they just stuck around for the rest of the game. And if you don't know how that works, Edgar gives his ability to Sabin, Go-Go copies it on top, so you let Go-Go resolve, Sabin shoots whatever with an Aura Cannon, the Shinryu, then Edgar gives it to Sabin, Sabin shoots it again, so essentially you get 2 Sabin triggers. And then, put on Celis for later pressure. I'm freezing his backups. Man, the amount of party triggers I got where you can just go, okay, these 2 party, Mog trigger, everyone gets first strike, Setzer trigger, Dull freeze that, Celis trigger, either freeze those 2 or get this back from my break zone. That other Lock trigger, dealing an extra point of damage. Just the insane amount of triggers from a single party attack. So yeah, this one was pretty just me favored because again, it just, other than the Shinryu, Ice Lightning just doesn't have a way to deal with a big board. And even Sephiroth isn't that amazing because he pretty much has to target Sabin. I'll just chakra activate anything else, so he can't even hit the dull target. So yeah, this one went pretty well, and I think this was me and Ghoul got this one, and that was the first time Alex lost, so we picked him up though. And round 5 was against a gentleman named Tim. I believe he was on Steve Sauce's team, and we knew we were the 2 4-0 teams in the room, so this one was just a little more relaxed, because it's like, it doesn't even matter if we lose this. We know we're essentially in the top cut, being a 4-1, but hey, we still wanted to win anyway. It was kind of funny, so he was on Wall. This was the first Wall matchup I had to do, and his other partner, not Steve was on like a Mono Ice Shiva list going against Daniel's Earth Wind. But then Alex, his Wall was against their category 6 player. So it was 6 versus Wall on 2 ends of the table. And this one, he hit an early Wall. He hit a Zero Miss and an Irvine off of it. And Irvine can be really tough because 6 uses its break zone quite a bit. And Irvine just can rip up your break zone. So luckily I didn't throw anything too important in there early. And because the Irvine came out so early, I was very kind of cautious about what to put in there. However, I also have all characters, so the Irvine's always going to get its effects. He did put me all the way to 5 damage. It was pretty close. I was able to eventually stabilize through a lock and Sabin. Much card draw. I'm going to get the card draw advantage. He just can't really get. And Sabin can just shoot most of the things in that deck. Demon was really key here too against the early Zero Miss. I don't remember if I put it out the turn Zero Miss came down, or maybe I waited a turn, but I put out Zero Miss, and he reads the Demon, and he did make a misplay, and I declared job, whatever Zero Miss's job is, I think it's Lunarian, and he was like, okay, Wool Special. So he used the Wool Special from hand. I said, okay, I'll let that resolve. And then we kind of stared at each other for a moment, and I was like, still takes 8,000 damage. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, I'm not targeting it. I just declare the job. I think he got confused with because there is a mode that targets when I exile the break zone. So that one was close. That was tricky, but I was able to stabilize and get him in the end. And oddly enough, their 6 player beat our Wool player too. So 6 doing pretty well against the Wool deck. And ironically, of all the decks I had to face, I almost would have rather faced Wool. I felt like I had a decent time into that matchup, just for a few reasons. Even Zero Miss's like trigger, if you have a Sabin special in hand, Chakra just gets around that. It's like, okay, Chakra, stand everybody up. Here's number 24. He's immune to damage for, 2 shots, and he's now an 11k, locks an 11k, Mog's an 11k. So, yeah, got that one. Ghoul got his, Alex lost his one round, but there you go. And then we were 5-0, so we were the top team coming out of Swiss. So we made the top cut, top 8. It's just the same format the whole way through, because technically every round is a best of 3 if you count the teammates. So it's essentially just 8 rounds of Swiss. We had several teams came up to us that said, hey, thanks for carrying us to top cut. I think Matt Rice's team, someone from that told me that not the last team, the Eric team, the Tori Kelly team came up, hey, thanks for carrying us to top cut. Well, so what's funny is Tori Kelly's team was 8th place, and we were 1st place, so we were going to pair against them, which actually wasn't good for us, because one, Ghoul came very close to losing his matchup against Tori Kelly's monsters, and that was my Neo X Death matchup, and I was just like, oh my god, guys, I'm going to have to face Neo X Death. So like in the break between Top Cut, I was sitting there discussing with him, like, what do I do? Do I even try to play a fair game, or do I just hard mulligan, try to play a fair game and hope he doesn't draw Neo X Death, or do I just hard mulligan for Big Umaro and pray? And they're like, Ghoul's like, I think you hard mulligan for the Umaro. And if not, just, do what you got to do. Good luck. So I got to face Neo X Death again. And I'm telling the teammates, like, all right, guys, you got to carry this again. And I feel confident in them because they both won their last matchups. But I was like, you have to carry this again because I can't beat Neo X Death. Like, what am I going to do against that? So we play. There was no die roll on the seeding, so we had to roll to go first. I didn't write down all the die rolls for the day. I wish I had. I lose the die roll. So he goes first. Draws his opening hand, says, I'll keep. And I'm like, all right. Like, pretty quickly, like, I'll keep. And I'm like, all right. He probably has Neo X Death. So my first hand wasn't great anyway, so I probably would have mulliganed it regardless. But I'm like, all right, I got to try to find Umaro. Mulligan away. Draw a hand, which has Interceptor and Setzer, which are the 2 backups I want to see early. So normally amazing, but there's no Umaro. Not even a little one. Because even little Umaro, turn 1, again, I can pitch 2 cards, play him, shoot, pitch another 2, shoot him again with the Umaro. Not not very efficient, quite expensive. A total of what, 7 cards, or no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards from hand, but it's something. So I have Setzer, Interceptor, no Amaro. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm gonna lose this. I'm gonna lose this for my team. Like, I just hope they can pull it through. Sure enough, turn 1, boom, Neo X Death. Only the good thing here is because he went first this time, it left him with 2 cards in hand. So even if he had Amaterasu, he couldn't use it. Whereas last time I went first, so because he went second, he had that 1 extra card, he could use Amaterasu. So I'm just like, all right, I literally put my hand on my deck and like closed my eyes and like took a breath. And in my head, I'm thinking Heart of the Cards, like it's that Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, draw what you need to, Destiny draw. First card is 7 Costumaro. Oh, baby. I double check my hand, everything, just to make sure. I ask, how many cards do you have in hand? He's got 2. It's like, all right, let's do it. I pitch everything except Setzer and Interceptor. Slap the Amaro down. That's going to the bottom of your deck. I have to sacrifice the Amaro. It's not, again, a great answer in the sense that it's efficient, but it kept me alive. And I'm just like, I think he only had 2 Neo X Death in his deck too, so I'm like, okay, I should be okay. And sure enough, after that, it was okay. I had Setzer, Interceptor. I don't remember exactly what I drew into, but I think I got 2 lock or a smaller lock or something to start ramping me up. Pretty quickly, he had to take quite a few turns off because he spent so much time on the Neo X Death. And like he had to put out an early Hooded Man, the legend one that reactivates your bat, but he only had 1 backup, so he wasn't getting a ton of value. And I was like, it's fine, just hit me for some damage, put me to 3, so Mog Dull Freezes. Got a little scary at the end there. I had to do a lock party attack to break his entire board, which also put him to damage 5, which I'm like, if Behemoth King comes out, but I also put out Go-Go, big, small Umaros, like that Behemoth King comes out, I'm just pop, copy, pop. I don't care if you break him, you're done. And he actually drew his second Neo X Death at that point, which like color locked him so he couldn't play anything, so... Man, did we stabilize, and I beat my nemesis. I beat Neo X Death, and thank God, because this was the first match. Daniel, he lost this is the only round he lost. So he turned to me like close to the end. He's like, did you get it? I was like, yeah. He was like, oh my God. I was like, wait, didn't you get it? And he was like, no, I didn't. I was like, oh my God. I was like, so I had to win. They couldn't carry me that time. Then we all crowded around Alex. He was against Mono Ice, and the guy had put out a Sid Randall early. And I remember like peeking over. I was like, oh my God, he's got Sid Randall on the field against Warrior of Light. That shuts off so much in that deck. But we had practiced against that because Ghoul had anticipated it would show up. So we did a lot of practice with his deck against a Sid Randall. How do you play around it? He eventually got to a Refia, he got to his board. We're all sitting around each other like, okay, I think you should do this. This was like the most team-intensive round. And our opponents were also doing that. They're all huddled around. Okay, I think you need to play this. Luckily, Alex gets it. I mean, I was shaking his shoulders like, let's go. I was so hyped up. And I felt amazed. It's like, oh my God, I beat Neo X Death with category 6 of all things. Whew. On to top 4. All right, top 4 was against Kyle Peters, and who else was on his team? I know Daniel was facing Chris Lopez on stream. This is the second to last match on stream, and it's Daniel versus Chris Lopez. Check that out if you haven't. I had to face Kyle Peters. He was on Earth Water, so again, I'm kind of like, all right, guys, hope you can pick me up because I don't feel good into this matchup. It's funny because Kyle had said he wanted to develop his backups more, and so I guess he couldn't find them, so he put out a pretty early Une Porum, which pretty much just became the entire match. I actually had a decent start, like I saw my backups. I don't think I bricked on backups this entire tournament. I was very fortunate, which of course you need some fortune to win one of these, but the Une bouncing one back, and the Une just, if it lives a turn, which it did, I don't think it ever got off the field. He just kept recurring summon value. And again, I struggled to deal with 9Ks. Porum, I got out the lock, but Porum just shuts the lock off. So this was a pretty lopsided affair. He even has a Mist Dragon to clear my break zone if he really needs to. Yeah, just that early Une Porum was absolutely the right call. There was this one point, man, this is just how like broken that deck is. He did a Chaos. So I had a Demon, a 9 CP lock, and a Mog on the field. And unfortunately, the Mog actually helped him a bit because it added a third element for Chaos. So I had all that on the field. He drops Chaos on the stack, Arc, kill, I think he killed like Lock. used Une, recurred Arc. I discarded what was left of my hand. Arc on the Mog, kills Mog, and then steals my demon because it's the only thing left. So he now has my own demon against me. I'm just like, all right, well, that was fun for you. Like, God, those combos, man, are just sick. So I felt again, this is a pretty lopsided matchup. It's tough to beat. If I could get set up with like Sabin, Go-Go, all that before an Une ever comes out, maybe then I can do something about it, even though, again, Porum really, really messes with that. But yeah, that was never going to happen. So got destroyed. Luckily, again, teammates picked us up on that, and they carried it through. And the finals, if you went to watch Alex on stream, I think he was taking on Cody in his Ice Lightning. So this was a rematch from round 2. I had to face Matt Rice again because it was his team. So it was the same Fire Water Twins matchup. And turn 1, Matt won the die roll. I lost a lot of die rolls. And so turn 1, he just went Palamporum. Like, Palamporum, deal with it. Like, well, okay. So that costs him 4 cards from hand, right? 1 for the Palom itself, 1 for the Porum itself. So he has 2 in hand. And I just have this feeling he's got Amaterasu. Luckily, I have the demon in my hand, and I'm like, I don't have a choice. I have to get I cannot play if he powers up these twins. And I have to kill them before Amaterasu comes down. So I just slap the demon down, declare job Apprentice Mage, wipe them off the field. Daniel was saying later, well, maybe you could have tried to build up and then do the demon on the next turn. That way you can play him off a backup. He's not as expensive. But I was like, but if he has Amaterasu, not only does he stop the demon, then Palom just finishes the demon off. So I don't even get the demon to stick around. So I felt that was the right call. But it's just not efficient, right? So Palom and Porum cost him a total of 4 cards from hand. The demon on turn 1 cost me 5. So I have to spend an extra card. Yeah, I took him out, but that was it. And, I got to attack in a few times, but I think he eventually got Tyvis out. Tyvis was the big one. When he played a Moody. He played a Moody early, so he searched Amaterasu. It's like, all right, well, I just, I have to play around that. And I kept trying to do stuff to bait it out, like, hey, Celis, discard a card. You want Amaterasu that? Because I don't want to use Edgar, because Edgar is what a lot of people save Amaterasu for. And eventually he just got Tyvis into Yuzuki, Cyan, all the free warrior stuff, and just, ripped me apart at that point. So again, kind of went similar to how I thought it would. Again, I was telling the guys, man, I hope you can pick this up, because this is a bad matchup for me, so could not overcome it. But the guys did pick me up. Daniel won his match, and Alex won his match. So we won the event overall. Daniel told me afterwards, hey, thank you for picking up all the bad matchups. He was like, I didn't have to face Porum all day. I don't think he faced Warrior of Light either. So he was like, you kept running into all the Neo X death, the toxic stuff he really doesn't want to have to deal with. I was like, yeah, no problem. I'm happy to help. So yeah, then our team won, and it was awesome. It was just, wow, what a fun feeling. Got to do a fun interview afterwards, and just, it was great. It was a great event, and it was a great time. And of course, I'm incredibly biased because we won, and winning makes everything better. If we had gone and scrubbed out, I could see feeling very differently. Like, wow, this format sucks. I had to face Warrior of Light 5-6 times a day. That was awful. But winning just makes everything better, and it's so much more than I ever could have hoped for and was expecting. So that was the weekend. That was the tournament result. It was a good time. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. And that was just the best of times. And again, I won, so I'm very biased in that. But I had a really good time. I really enjoyed the team format. It just felt more casual. And I don't even mean that from like the competitiveness of the cards you were playing was still very intense. But because you could drop a match, and it's like, hey, my teammates will pick me up. And that was something I kept saying to the team all day. We pick each other up. We pick each other up. I lost the most out of any of them, and I feel like I was on the weakest deck. But I also showed up when I needed to. I won that second Neo X Death match. I had to win that because Ghoul wasn't carrying that one for once. And Alex dropped a few times, and we had to pick him up. But that's what we did. We picked each other up as a team. So that was just great. It was a really good feeling, and I've always been someone who's about teamwork, so I love the format. Don't change anything about it. I loved the open communication we could have. I was very worried when they first announced it, because they were like, you can't talk to your teammates, and I was like, you can't talk to your teammate? Like, what's even the point? That's not a team format, then. That's just 3 guys playing standard single next to each other. So I'm very happy that the team format was the way it was. Want to give one more shout out to Ghoul02, Daniel in particular. Thank you for inviting me, for wanting me on your team as he did. Everyone else saw the love and thank yous as well, but him especially, because he believed in me and he wanted to have me there and he wanted me to be a part of that. So it was a great time. It was fun to see North Carolina. I'd never been there before. A lot of trees in that area. It was a very beautiful state and had a really good time. So thanks to Sam Prime as well, and Chris, and I think his other friend's name was Jonathan. I'm sorry if I don't remember your name. They took me to Hibachi when I first got there from the airport, which I'd never been to before. It was really, really good. So thanks to you guys. Just thanks again to everyone who came up, said hello. The game store for running in RVA, Square Enix, all that. It was awesome. If you went, let me know what you thought in the comments below. Let me know what decks did you run? What would you have run differently? All that jazz. So I appreciate you all listening. I wonder if there'll be another one of these. Maybe I'll go to another one. But man, it feels very good to win and to come out on top. So great time. Can't say enough good things about it. Thank you for watching. And until next time, take care.